preserving their theological and worship distinctives, but people actually identified with their tradition. So if a Lutheran family moved, the first thing they did was to look for a Lutheran church in their new community. Not just any church would do, but a Lutheran church was where they felt comfortable. They would leave their tradition only under dire circumstances. It sounds like a quaint holdover to institutional loyalty, but this was not too long ago. It was the job of the pastor to bear the weight of that tradition. 2. Caregiver. Being a pastor is associated with pastoral care. Pastors are to be present in people's lives at the time of crisis, illness, grief, and quality of life-threatening incidents such as unemployment or divorce. God's people have come to expect that there is no one like the pastor who can tend to their needs when life turns south. If there's an emotional contract that people have with their pastors, it is that they show up in times of crisis. Only the pastor is qualified to meet their caregiving needs. God's people can help, but they do not match up to the pastor. 3. Public symbol of the sacred. The clergy represented the institution of the church in public life. They were public symbols of the sacred. Lauren Mead writes about the symbol of being an Anglican priest in England just a generation ago. In the Christendom paradigm, the role of clergy was clear. It was strong, central, and unquestioned. It was a high-status role, carrying authority. Clergy were the ministry. Clergy were chaplains and guarantors of community life, with power far beyond the walls of the church. As a 30-year-old Episcopalian priest walking the streets of a village in southern England, I often had mayor and street sweeper alike defer to me as rector. Their deference was not to me, but to the power that the pastor carried in Christendom. For many people in churches today, that remains a very attractive idea. For many people, the problem would be solved if we could return to that strong hierarchical model, when Herr Pastor was Herr Pastor, and the rector was truly ruler, which is what the word means in Latin. 4. Presider over rites of passage. Central to each tradition are rites of passage that mark a person's incorporation into them. Pastors were, and still are, the ones who preside over these markers in life. They baptize, confirm, marry, and bury. The most visible expressions of being a presider are the weekly responsibility of leading the people of God in worship and acting in the priestly role as the celebrant behind the communion table. If pastors fulfilled these 4 roles effectively under Christendom, the esteem of the pastor was intact. However, today the cultural context in which these roles were refined does not exist in the same way. It is difficult to make generalizations regarding the surrounding culture of a church because even in the United States, there are widely varying settings. New England and the western states in America are worlds apart from Peoria, Illinois, or the heart of the Southern Bible Belt. Yet certainly we would agree that the assumed supportive environment of the Christian church as a respected and consulted institution has greatly diminished. The church I served in Saratoga, California, from 1988 to 1998, was set in a professional community in the Silicon Valley. Santa Clara County, dominated by San Jose, had a church-going population of all faiths of approximately 13%. I said regularly to our congregation, "This means that 87% of the people surrounding us have voted with their feet that they think we are irrelevant to the well-being of their lives." All of this is to say that we need to be and do church in a drastically different way, because the mission of the church is now on the doorstep of the church. Mission is not just 100 people providing the support to send one person to a far-off land. We live in a time of transition, in the time of the overlap of Christendom and the post-Christian world. We need bridge strategies that help us make the shift from the denominational, institutional